If we're lucky, guys, I'm going to say hi.
Happening?
Oh, I hope everyone can hear that forklift. I hope that is the.
What a classic way to start.
I know.
Hopefully, you guys are here. If not, it might be live on a different link, Bobby.
Okay.
Well, we're here. We're all live, Bobby.
Can everybody hear us? Because
how's everybody doing?
I see chat. Let's see, but I don't see.
Yes.
I don't see our video.
Is up and running.
The video. I'm in there.
Oh, on YouTube. Oh, sweet. All right. Well,
yep.
Hey, what's up?
If you can hear us, if everybody can hear us, sorry, we're trying to
hit us with a comment if you can see
set
us,
up.
hear us.
So let us know. Yes.
And also, everybody's laggy except for me. Go me.
Just kidding. He's the only one. Man. See, on my screen, actually, Bobby's looks really good, and his looks a little fuzzy. So, I don't know.
Guess what?
We're going to restream. Everything is Restream's fault.
Commander. Yeah.
It is his fault.
So what's up, everybody? Yeah, we didn't make
what a terrible beginning to a
Kyle says a vision.
Great.
All right. So we're chopping off the first 45 seconds. Forklift and everything.
Yeah. Bobby, we're back. How you doing?
We're back. I'm excited to be back. This has been, I mean, we've probably been over 6 months from a consistent, Wedding Film School Live, right?
Yes.
I know we kind of popped in a couple times. So we're all excited to be back. We've gotten together a couple, at WPPI, and, obviously we've had conversations on the back end for Wedding Film School or for the channel, but really excited to be back with the community now, with everybody in chat, and we've got some wedding films, and man, I'm pumped. It's going to be good.
Just like the good old days, right?
Yeah.
So
we have 3 films today. And I sent an email out to everybody. You guys are excited about getting your films critiqued. We're also going to be giving away a nice little Wedding Film School mug. And if you would like to win this mug, all you got to do is head over to Wedding Film School Show, our Instagram account. Go in there. Yesterday, we'll know that we're doing a live film critique, and to head over here, we're going to check on our phones and see who did it and who didn't do it, and then we're going to give somebody a free mug. So it's pretty easy. Season going.
Dude, wedding season, it has been good for me. I think, I have a really weird wedding season. I know you guys do way more weddings, so this probably isn't the case for you, but anybody in chat, I don't know if you're like this. I had 3 weddings in May or something like that. So kind of early end of the season for me, like normal season, but on the earlier side. I have 1 in July, and then basically all my weddings are in the fall. I'm booked all, a little bit of August, all of September, all of October, maybe into November even. So that's odd for me. But it's kind of nice. I've gotten a few out of the way already. I don't have to shoot June, July in Minnesota is just so humid. So
yep,
I'm going to kind of lean into it, I think, is what I'm feeling.
Jared, how many weddings have you shot so far?
I'm probably up to getting close to 10 at this point, on the year onward. And
in your career,
probably, yeah, my career. I've probably done about 10 since January. I'm kind of doing a unique thing this year where some of the weddings that I'm doing are actually photos. So I've done about 3 or 4 photography weddings, and then the rest have been films, which has been cool. But really, the main thing we've been doing is just spending time on this office, trying to get in. We finally got occupancy, so we've just been setting up. And even though our studio setup kind of looks good, I can tell you right now, I'm like sitting in piles of equipment and boxes and extension cords and HDMI cables, and
It
it's
My
looks
still a
room
bit
good
is
of a
to the
mess. Yeah,
audience.
my room
exactly.
is
That's
close
all that
to
matters,
here.
right?
I'll show everybody my background, Jared, really quick. Just full screen.
Yes, we look good,
Hey,
right?
I
Tropical.
really like Jay's setup. I have a question though, Jay, for you. I have two
Yeah.
questions. One, are
Mhm.
those plants real?
No.
Dude, Jay, I can never imagine Jay keeping any plants alive for more than 2 weeks. Like
Hey,
watering them once and then
we have a honestly, I it's more that I can't not keep them alive.
yeah,
Like it becomes like a weird like
Like an
psychotic
obsession.
obsession, and then
Yeah.
We're
I'm
getting
just
no
like
work done.
I grow to resent the plant.
yeah. You should get a bonsai tree. Bonsai trees are easy. You just have to water them every once in a while and then trim them. That's more of the obsession, right?
So Bobby, you did something really interesting this year with one of your films, and you should put it in the chat. Is that film somewhere people can see? But tell people about this
It's
really
only
cool
on
thing
my
you did.
phone. You guys want me to hold my phone up to the camera or something?
Well, you're gonna share it on its social sometime, right?
I will eventually. It's just it hasn't been shared yet because I'm terrible at that. That's a whole other conversation. I had a really
Same.
interesting. And actually, some of you guys probably saw because I did post I posted like a screen grab, but I had a wedding out in California, and this was just about a month ago. It was like June 4th or 3rd or something like that. So I had this groom, and I knew about this for a while, but when he proposed to his now wife, he built a video game. They had met playing Tetris on I think the website was like omgpop.com or something like that, which I don't think exists anymore. But like total strangers just matched up to play Tetris, continued to play, chatting, whatever. So kind of like a video game background. And he built this video game that I thought when they told me like 2 years ago when they booked me, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like it was probably like this small little thing, like, oh, cute, but whatever. Yeah. And it's like Stardew Valley themed, if any of you guys are familiar with that, or not themed, but like in that 8-bit kind of style. And I asked for the game because I was like, hey, because he said he had a video walkthrough and he sent it to me. This game is over an hour long. Like it is a full on like experience, and it's like all the characters are people from their lives. It's you play as the bride. I mean, not as a bride, but who his wife now, and their dog, like going around and exploring, like collecting things, like all these like inside jokes and places from their lives. And I was just like blown away. Like that, I don't think I could complete that in a lifetime, making it and maybe even playing it. I don't know. And there's like sub quests and whatever, which is crazy. And yeah, it was amazing. We incorporated it into the teaser, which is the only thing that's been completed to this point. But again, it has not been posted anywhere. So, but yeah.
So I'm gonna just kind of give everybody the rundown of how it's gonna go today. But that's really cool, Bobby. And
Yeah,
hopefully you guys get opportunities to work with couples that
just one of those like unique experience things that you just see and you're just like, this is just going to be such a fun wedding for me because it's just so different.
Well, and wedding filmmaking is ultimately about connecting the film to the couple, right?
Yeah.
And so today we're going to be reviewing 3 films. One of them is from a brand new filmmaker. One of them is from someone we've never reviewed before. And then another one is from somebody we've reviewed before, Max. And it's kind of similar to what you were saying in that there's a non-traditional element inserted into the film that I think really, really makes it different. And so hopefully you guys, as you're doing this, you're able to see like there is a lot of things you can do with wedding filmmaking that are a little bit different. Bobby, why don't do you want to get into films?
I mean, I guess that's why we're here. So let's do it. Yeah. I think we probably should.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys can hear this. If you can't, then I guess sorry.
If you can, then.
But here it goes. So this first film is from, I should probably pull up all my names. Bobby, do you have that? Can you pull up the films for me too, so we can have two of us that have it? So the first film is from Zach Boyle from Z Breezy Video. I'm going to go ahead and post a link to their website because I always like to give people a little reps. So if you'd like to check out their work, here it is. I always say too, is like if you have the time and follow people on social and give and represent and support other filmmakers, I think that's awesome. So this is Z Breezy Film. And he said, this is my first wedding film. I shot entirely with the A7 IV, Road Go 2 for mics. Shot it for free to build the portfolio. This is Zach Boyle. I always like to review someone's first film, Bobby. Why do we like to do that so much?
Well, I think, there's a lot of things. One, it's sometimes nice because it can be like the most impactful. Like the people who are willing early on in their career to put like something out there. I mean, that like takes some guts, but it can be such a like, if you think of a trajectory of like getting better as like this or something like that, if you're willing to put it out there and get people and get the community to reflect on your film, like you can really ramp that up in getting very good very quick. And then it's really cool for us because we see a lot of these filmmakers who submit something and then we might see, so this is their first film, let's say, and then we might see their third film or their fifth film, and we get to see, like, we're along for that journey. We're invested in that, and we get to see that really quick scale up of people taking a lot of our advice too, which personally, it always feels great to be like, wow, they really thought about their white balance, which is, I know, a big thing we mentioned in their first film or something like that, which is really cool.
Yes, it is. So this is their first film. And so we try to grade on a curve around here. A couple of little updates that we're going to be doing a little differently this season. First of all, if you're submitting a film more than 5 minutes, we may only watch 5 minutes of it. We might skip around a little bit. We're really trying to speed it up a little bit this season, and we're just working on it. We want to get as much content as we can in the show, and so like we're going to be really kind of focusing on. I guess if you're over a little bit, it'll be cool. But just as a heads up, like I said, we kind of grade on a curve. So when we look at this film, we're going to try to keep in mind that it is a new wedding filmmaker, and we're going to each give a round of feedback of what we love about the film, what we like, and what we think could be improved. So
yep.
At the end of the
film, you might hear us talk a little bit through the film, but we're going to watch it in its entirety.
In general, that's our format, guys. What we like and love and what we think could be improved about the film. And we're probably going to be hitting on cinematography, editing, storytelling, audio, a little less audio and a little less some of the visuals, because we are going to have some compression from a stream. So keep that in mind when you're watching the film, that the audio and the videos will be compressed because it's going through the internet. So without further ado, here's our film today.
One of them.
Annie, it's my greatest joy today to become your bride. I vow to a lifetime of learning. I choose to humbly grow alongside you for the rest of our days. Danny, I vow to invite Jesus to be seated on the throne of my heart every day. Danny, I vow to honor you in my words, my actions, and even my thoughts. I choose to champion and celebrate all of who you are, bringing delight and respect to your name always. Even when we don't see eye to eye, I choose to be grateful for the things that make us different, knowing that we can go further together than apart. Danny, I vow to give you the keys to every room in my heart.
I did want to point out, guys, the audio kind of sounding like...
we already failed.
I did just want to let everyone know the audio kind of sounding like it's got like noise reduction on it, little issues. That is caused by the compression. So let's not knock them for that, okay?
I I choose a life of transparency
Taylor Swift's wedding.
and access to be fully known by
She
you.
does look like Taylor
always.
Swift a little bit.
Even when I make mistakes, I choose to not be hidden or
Looks
build
like this whole
walls,
thing's
but
handheld.
to bring all things to the light.
Abby, I vow to always step towards you and lead in the love that Jesus exemplifies. I vow to keep Jesus as the cornerstone of our relationship, never making myself the center of our covenant. I vow to conduct myself in the truth written in God's word and lived out by Jesus, the living word, choosing to always turn to what God says when I don't have the answers, but especially when I think that I already have the answers. I promise to commit myself to hard work and prayer as we create a foundation for us to build our covenant on. That every brick we lay will be in the name of Jesus.
Your dreams are my dreams. Your vision is my vision. Even when we're old and gray, I commit to locking eyes in the rocking chair with a soft heart. Today I freely choose to covenant myself to you, and it's with joy in my heart and no doubt in my mind that we
Nothing
have
like a
God
Christian
who's
wedding to get
faithful
some
to keep
really
his
teary
promises.
vows.
I choose all of me for all of you.
That's the shot. The groom shot.
It's grape juice, though.
Do we know how many cameras?
I give you this ring
As a symbol of my love and faithfulness,
with all that I am.
I covenant myself to
It
you.
might be one
I
camera.
covenant myself to you.
Zach, if you're in the chat, let us know. We're barely holding it together, guys. These people are crying a lot. Fake out. It's back.
That's cool.
Ending shot. That's cool.
Yeah.
Z
that's really
Breezy
cool.
coming in hot.
So,
Z Breezy should he should do like the like Henry Martin's like party scenes when he was like putting like, I feel like when he first kind of got a lot of recognition for like these crazy party edits at weddings. That should be a Z Breezy thing, I feel like.
yes. So let's talk about the film. So one thing we all like, or a couple things, but brief amount of things about what we all loved about the film or liked about it, thought stood out as a positive. Why don't we start with Jared?
Yeah, sure. The one thing right off the bat is like the creative direction right off the bat was impressive. Like you could tell this person actually cares about design. It started with like the detail shots, putting, shot over shot, putting like a block essentially in the middle while doing a background as well. I thought that was really creative and thoughtful and, can still use, I think, a little bit of work in terms of like timing and making it so it doesn't kind of drag on. But I like those elements. I liked a lot of the party elements that you're thinking about. Like there was the almost like the disco ball light that's in the background that's kind of like fading in as people are on the dance floor. I love the use of the overlays. You could tell this person was just thinking through their shots and how they would interact with each other. I would say I wish a lot of the shots were a little bit faster
Jared,
for that party song. So
no improvement yet.
What do you mean?
We're gonna do a
We're
round
only
of what
saying
we
things
love.
we like.
Oh yeah,
Come on, Jared,
right.
follow instructions.
I know. They coincide with each other. But I would say overall, I do like all of those kind of overlays and the creative direction they're going for.
What about you, Mr. Water Bobby? Nobody drinks more water than Bobby.
I'm gonna go through this whole thing by the time we're halfway through this.
I'm gonna drink.
You have to drink 3 gallons a day in order to scale
just
buildings like a ninja.
Sip away at a Coke Zero.
Okay, so I think the two things that I really liked, Jared, kind of building off of what you said, is that creativity aspect, but I would phrase it as like you were willing to take risks, which at this stage in your career, that's risks in shooting, risks in the edit. Like that's how you really, I think, figure out what your style is, and you don't kind of get trapped in this box of what a wedding film has to be, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you spend 2-3 years just like building your portfolio of like standard wedding films, I think it can be hard to really figure out who you are as a creative outside of that. So I like seeing those risks, like you said, Jared, like the picture in picture and like, stuff like that in the edit. I don't know, or in the shooting, I don't know that all of them worked or that I would have done all of them, but I do always like seeing people pushing boundaries. And then I also think you had really great coverage. I know I asked like early on if
that's
this
what I was going to say. You stole mine, Bobby.
Well, that's why you don't go last, Like, I don't know if this was one filmmaker with multiple cameras or maybe you had 2 shooters or whatever, but, really, really good coverage for like, there are other things.
Even that shot right there, Bobby. Like,
like that's a lot of good,
show.
like, exactly different, whatever. So, I like seeing that. I think that's one thing that, and not that it can't be improved on or anything like that, but I think that's one thing that we see, especially early on, is like, oh man, they just sat one camera in the back the whole time of the ceremony and they didn't really move their feet very much and whatever. So I like seeing variety.
I'm going to say something similar to you, but with a little twist, which is the coverage was very good. And, I would just want to highlight the story amount, like style or the story kind of component of good coverage, which is you had all the moments that a lot of people miss because they're not in the right place. And so I feel like there was like an intuitive, like, I need the shot of the groom, or I need to get low and shoot the flower girl. And like a lot of things that take a little while to kind of work your way through as a wedding filmmaker. You did pretty well, especially for your first wedding. You got like a lot of these in between moments. Like, I feel like the couple is going to watch this and be like, yeah, that was my wedding day. Like you kind of captured everything and you showed almost everything of importance. Honestly, I don't even remember. Was there speeches in this video?
I
don't think so.
I think it was just vows.
Yeah. So I would say, I don't know if that was captured or not captured. Maybe they didn't have any speeches. That'd be, but regardless, it felt like it was very comprehensive. And I feel like that is actually really hard to do when you first start out, is like making sure you're just literally in the right place at the right time. And I felt like you did a great job of that. So why don't we move into some areas where we think that we can be improved, and like, let's just say one or two things each, guys.
Do you
want to
wanna-
go, Jared?
Jared? Okay.
Yeah. I think first of all, in the shots, I would also echo what Jay said in terms of coverage was good. I would say, especially for this style of shooting where you're going to be overlaying a lot of assets over each other. I do wish there was a little bit more shooting, and I wish the shooting was a little bit tighter. Like that wide shot of their when they're giving their vows. I wish those were a little bit tighter. Of course, when you first start, you only have a certain amount of like lenses you can choose from, and you can only obviously stand in certain places. But I do wish we were a little bit tighter for a lot of those moments, like the vows, because when you get really wide, your composition has to be on point, and I think composition is probably pretty tough for newer shooters to accomplish, and you can just get over that hurdle by zooming in a little bit and getting a little bit tighter. Otherwise, people are going to critique your composition a little bit more. So I wish a lot of these shots were a little bit tighter. It seems like we're shooting on one lens the entire day, and it might be a prime. But there's that, and then also I would say I wish the vows were a little bit shorter because they just kind of seem to like drag on after a while. Like cutting those down is learning how to become a good editor and just using the parts that kind of pack a punch. Of course, not sure what the couple wanted, and maybe the couple was like, we want this to be mostly our vows or something. But if you can put out work that really just has like good snippets that really add to the overall piece, so that people are hiring you based on that, I would say that's what you should be putting out. And then I wish the like I said before, I wish the reception coverage was cut a little bit faster. I think it deserved a little bit more pep in its step, you could say. So those are my three critiques. Otherwise, I love this film. I think this is a way better first film than I definitely made. So kudos to you, man. This is really cool.
I'll dive in, and I'll also say on that note, if you want to see our first films that we made, you can see them on the channel. So you can actually take a look at that. And This is definitely better than what we put together. So although, granted, we started
we didn't really have.
I'll give us a little bit of grace with that.
Yeah, we didn't have 10 years of wedding filmmaking to build.
What is IBIS?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go through a few things real quick. I do think there's nothing wrong with handheld filmmaking. I think you can tighten up your handheld shots a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some of them work very well. Some of them definitely had some wobble. Some you were, just kind of like, you got a lot of great coverage, but you could tell at the front end of a shot or on the back end, you were kind of moving to go get something else. So I think you could tighten that up a little bit, and then also not emulating any gimbal moves when you're handheld, like a little bit, sure, but like the full, like, walking or something. I think my main thing that I want to echo with Jared is the pacing of the film. I think the film could be shorter overall. Cutting the vows down definitely would lend itself to that, and that would allow you to cut out, some extra shots that maybe weren't, not bad shots, but they were just not at the level of some other shots. You could take out some of those handheld shots that didn't work as well or something like that. So tightening the edit up as a whole, and then, the pacing again in how you cut kind of more you had this upbeat song with slow cuts still at points. You also had points in the early part of the film where they have vows, and the audio is what's driving it. And then you have, 10, 15 seconds without any vows, and it's just visuals, and it's such a slow song that there's nothing really pushing that forward. So I think tightening that up, and I know Jared was saying, I don't know what the couple asked for, whatever, but I do have your submission up here, and I know we talked about it earlier, but this was done for free. So if you're doing a film for free for your portfolio, you should make what you want, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
if you're like, this is a little bit long, I'm going to cut this to a 2.5 minute film because that's going to look better for my portfolio, you should absolutely do that if you're doing it for free. And then the one last thing that I'll touch on really quick is just the color. I think you could dive into your color grade a little bit more. I don't think there was that much done to this, both in matching a couple different, I don't know if it was cameras if you had a couple different cameras, or if you had a couple different angles that, the light was hitting it differently. Maybe you were using auto white balance or something. but some differences in color, and then kind of giving it more of an overall look, I think would be a good step as well.
I'm going to be specific, and I'm going to show you an editing thing that is kind of I've saw throughout the film, and it's just like jump cutting between similar angles. And so right here we kind of we do this thing right here, right? And then it's like a little black, and then it's like cutting, and you get your camera moved, and then like
the black helps it, in my opinion, but I don't.
It does help it.
Yeah.
But in general, first and foremost, that was I think 12 seconds on the same shot.
Yeah.
No change in the frame. You have this other shot that you could cut to between back and forth. And so in general, like I felt like a lot of the editing was, I think the best way I could say it is kind of what one of the positives of your film was what Jared said, which is there's a lot of risks taken, but it also became a negative, which is I think there were some things you were trying to do that you don't have some basics mastered. And when you try to do too much, it kind of exposes the lack of fundamentals. So like the fact that you're not stable in that shot, if you had been stable and you did those jump cuts, it would feel better. But the fact that you're not stable, I think, and it's jumping. And I think just in general, the biggest thing I would say is camera things, which are first and foremost, I think that the cameras, your white balance is pretty much off all day. And I think the white balance needs to be much better. If you don't know, if you're using auto white balance, I would encourage you not to. Auto white balance is going to make a lot of decisions that are just not right. It was pretty blue all day. And I would say learning your Kelvin scale is what the first thing I would work on. The second thing I would work on is my handheld shooting. I thought the A7 IV had IBIS, Bobby. We're not. Sony
I think it does. It might not be turned on, or or maybe this is a stabilized image, and it would have been way worse without it.
Getting a camera strap or something. I like handheld shooting, but if you do it, and then the other thing is more of an editing thing, which is like if you're gonna shoot handheld, not kind of cutting in, like you guys had both mentioned, when they're cutting in and out of shots. A lot of editing is kind of not showing your mistakes. And I felt like a lot of mistakes were left in there and it was a little distracting. So, but all that to say, guys, it was a really, really solid effort, pretty high concept for a first wedding film. And I think please keep submitting because I can't wait to see how you develop and grow. The only thing I was going to mention too, which this isn't a critique, but the noise during the reception was unacceptable to me. The level of noise, and so I was under. I was under the impression
that was my one that I didn't write, or I wrote but I didn't say because I was like trying to keep it to 3. As I was like, man, lighting would help that reception out a lot.
Yeah.
But also just like I was under the impression the A7 IV had pretty good low light performance, so I'm a little surprised.
I mean, if you're shooting like, I think what it looked like is just underexposed. Like you could have cranked your ISO a lot better and been better off.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have, and you guys, they don't all have the high quality. I have the playback over here, and the noise is softened by the compression, but the noise is very significant on the faces, and so I would just say maybe figure that out. A little bit, but it was really good, right, guys?
Yes, definitely. Good job.
Definitely.
Bobby, before we get to the next film, why don't we talk a little bit about something we got going on, which is our podcast.
Oh, yes. So some of you might have seen our video, which we released a couple of weeks ago now, but some changes with the podcast. Not big changes, mainly just that we are on a new channel with the podcast. So we have decided to separate out the podcast as far as YouTube goes from the from the main Wedding Film School channel. So if you want to subscribe to our podcast, which of course is free, that is now on the Wedding Film School Show channel on YouTube. You can find it on our channel, our main channel here. You can find it if you search Wedding Film School Show, and then nothing changes as far as the audio side of the podcast. But if you like seeing our pretty faces, if you like seeing our cool studio setups that seem to change every single week, then
hopefully not anymore.
Show, hopefully we're done with that. Then Wedding Film School Show is where you can now watch the podcast. So we we'd love to have you go over there and subscribe. We have our entire backlog of content pretty much up. We are almost caught up with the current season, a couple episodes behind. We're releasing 2 a week right now until we get caught up, and then everything moving forward will be on that new channel. But nothing is changing here on this channel. We're just separating it out just because of long form content, short form content, and Wedding Film School Show is still the best place to get into some of those really deep business discussions, wedding filmmaking, like the philosophy behind it, and these things that we can't really make a 10-minute short little intro video on. Yeah, like how to make money, how to build your business right. So Wedding Film School Show on YouTube is the place for that, and we'd love to have you join us over there. And if you're liking the content, guys, the biggest thing you can always do, whether it's this live stream here or over on our new channel, Wedding Film School Show, or past videos, is give us a like and leave us a comment. We want to engage with the community, so those comments always help, and they also help YouTube say, "Oh, they must know what they're doing. This is probably pretty good."
Not suck.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just want to encourage you guys, head over, share our story up on the Wedding Film School Show. We got a story up there right now. If you want to win one of our wonderful little Wedding Film School mugs, head over there and just kind of share that story on your story. At the end, we're going to look and see who shared, and then one of those people is going to win a free mug. So head over there and share that we're live. We want to let people know about the live stream. So let's get into our next film. The next film is a new submitter, but I don't believe a new filmmaker, because the work looks
good.
It looks a little too good.
A little too good.
A little too good. But it's the Fate Factory, which I see that you're in there. Let me get it.
Holy moly.
Joseph Duff from the Fate Factory. What gear did he shoot on, Bobby?
Let's see. A lot. Okay, here we go. So he is on 2 Sony A7R3s, a bunch of Sony Primes, and looks like the RS2 and the RS2 and the Ronin. So 2 gimbals, and those are the main things. Some audio and stuff like that. So
I haven't seen this full film yet, but I think they did like an indoor session from just Jay skimming through it. I think they did an indoor session, a few outdoor sessions. So I would assume that these are like multiple days. And so, yeah.
Well, this is the first time having to film solo without a dedicated second shooter. And I apologize if you can't hear me. I'm turning my head. But he also not having at least hours of coverage booked. This was due to budget. And the bride informed me that she only was able to afford a film where her father-in-law, who loves video, insisted and offered to pay. This is how I made it work. I did have a gear assistant, which is what we would have a lot of times, Jared. There was a lot of changing in lighting and having shade. Super happy with the moments he was able to catch. So I think you'll see some of the limitations of the day he was working on, but you'll also see some of the strengths. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
I think it's important to say here too, just real quick, it looks like he says he doesn't really do weddings. He does more lifestyle adventure portraits and business brand stuff.
You should do weddings.
I got news for you.
I got news for you, buddy boy. Okay, so let's do this film.
No worldwide pandemic, no forest fire, no distance, no amount of time could prevent this day from happening.
Alicia, this has been a long time coming. I can't believe we're finally here. I'll never forget when we first met. The girl who asked all the hard-hitting questions. Is the bus loud? Does the fireplace work? How are the neighbors? From that moment, I knew you were someone special. It took some convincing, but I'm so lucky you finally gave in and went on that first date with me.
Michael, You came to me in my life at exactly the right time, when I wasn't ready, and yet when I needed your love the most. You showed me the sweetest adoration, and I'm so grateful for our instant connection.
I fell in love with you because of your infectious energy, your charm, and your incredibly kind heart. If there's one word to sum up our relationship, it would be patience. Whether it was being patient for a first date, or being patient while we were in different cities, or being patient enough to climb 8,800 feet per proposal, or being patient with our Mr. Emmett chewing up the TP, or ultimately being patient to make this day a reality.
Church.
You made me feel loved, and you made me feel beautiful, even when you couldn't verbalize it. We both know that words and affirmation are not your thing. We've known each other for almost a decade now, and it has been the best chapter of my life. We lived out our fun and careless early 20s together here in San Francisco. We've traveled and adventured to all corners of the globe. We've started our little family with the addition of our fur baby Emmett, who I do admit loves you just a little bit more than me.
I like that shout of shared.
Audio volume seems to be ducking, guys. I apologize. I don't really know what the deal is with that.
I love you wholeheartedly for the kind, smart, and thoughtful man that you are. I'm so excited to continue building our lives together, to raise our future babies, and to eventually grow old together. I promise to be patient and forgiving, but since you made me wait so long for the proposal, I vow to make getting ready and being late to everything for the rest of your life.
I fixed it.
We have persevered through the ups and downs, and I continue to love you more and more every step of the way. I promise to share in the good and the bad parts of life together, and I promise to have all the patience that love demands. In the laughter and the silence, I will always be by your side.
Michael, you're my best friend, and I adore you. I truly cannot wait for what we have in store together.
Family and friends, it is my honor to present to you Mr. and Mrs. Michael and Alicia Santia.
I love that shout. I love the negative space in it.
That's fun.
I wonder if you
Really
watched my
beautiful.
How to Shoot Ring Shots video.
That's just beautiful. That stuff is gorgeous. That's an awesome venue.
Bobby did like that ring shot. You're very right.
I liked it too. It was awesome. There's a lot to like about it.
Oh,
for sure. So, guys, why don't we start? Let's do reverse order. I'll start this time. A couple, really, what I loved about this film. I mean, the easy way to say would be the shooting. The cinematography is excellent throughout the film. There is like, I didn't really watch anything and go like, oh, there's nothing in there. Like he missed some really important shots, and every time everything from the speeches where there's a little bit of gimbal and it's moving and it's just like I could tell that he worked hard to create interest, not only to capture things but to do it in ways that are interesting. When every shot I saw, I was like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that's a good way to shoot that. And so really excellent cinematography throughout the film.
Are we moving on? My turn. All right. So things that I loved. First of all, your color was awesome, especially in like that opening. I mean, not opening sequence, but kind of all those shots in the forest. Like I just really loved that, including some of those ending shots as well. I also really loved your movement. So I am going to come back to that as well, but you had some really intentional movement that was like it elevates so many of your shots, and you also had some sequencing that threw me off, but you also had some sequencing with movement. Specifically, actually, a lot of people commented on it, the sweeping shot of the ceremony, and then you went to this really tight shot behind some people's heads, and just had such subtle movement in it that just elevates your shots. And yeah, I mean, like Jay said, you can tell that you are a shooter through and through. Like the cinematography,
like that shot's awesome right there.
Yeah, I commented on that when we saw it. I was like, I
the
love
gimbal through the trees.
Yeah.
It takes guts.
The
drone through the trees.
Maybe gimbal. Maybe he had it up on a pole, a 40-foot pole or something. I don't know.
Or he's just in the tree.
So I really like that. And then I really liked, kind of getting back to the shooting again, that you just
shot good.
Yeah, you shot good. You can tell. I mean, you can tell that you have a background in film, even if it's not in weddings. And yeah, you just shot really well. So
yeah.
Yeah, I can promise dude is jacked with the amount of gimbal moves that he added this film, and just probably uses for most of the films that he uses. Because I don't know, looking at it, I would assume probably 80% of this is gimbal, like, which is
I would
awesome,
say like 95.
which is great. yeah, the entire day potentially, which is great. And honestly, I usually would probably have more of a critique of like, you use too much gimbal. And when I say that, I probably usually mean too much bad gimbal. But dude, like, you're like pretty close to being a master of using the gimbal. Like, your work there is extraordinary and really thoughtful, intentional. I always find that when using a gimbal, my composition can suffer because it's just like I'm trying to do a movement, you're trying to like move yourself, and then you're also trying to keep your frame lined up. Like in a movie, they would have someone who would frame it up, and then someone actually like operating the camera moving. So you're doing those two things, and you're doing it in a way that looks fantastic and is really cool. Just subtle movements. Bobby mentioned it.
I think that could go back to the fact that he had multiple gimbal setups.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's what a lot of people have one gimbal setup and their film sucks because it's the same shot over and over.
Yep.
I would also say his storytelling was interesting. Like the first, what was it? The first like minute and a half, there was like no one else in the film except the two of them. And then there was a lot of back and forth. So it was almost felt like, as far as an editor, you did good there, because I felt like I was getting to know this couple before I saw anyone else in the entire film. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. We'll get into some things that maybe I didn't like so much about the storytelling. But I thought that was really interesting because I was like, is this a separate day? Like they're in the woods? Is this just the first look? And then he took them to a couple other places. But there's kind of that like pacing at the very beginning that was just the two of them. Like you seemed like you were just connecting with them. So that was good storytelling. I really like that.
Okay, why don't we do kind of what we think could be improved? This might be a little just debatable, but it's just kind of my opinion. I like that the color is different, but I do think it was a little kind of all over the place throughout the film, especially the skin tones.
That is true.
And that was throwing me off because there were times where they had like the zombie skin, like really like, and in general, like right there. Like this shot, like when he's standing on the sidewalk, you can tell it's really desaturated. And like, I felt like there was just an inconsistent methodology to how you were handling skin tones and color and light. I felt like it was kind of all over the place. But nothing like where I watched it film and was like, oh, that's hideous color. Like not like that. Just kind of like, I wish it was like pick one or the other. And to my own taste, it's a little too desaturated from time to time, at least in the mids. The other thing I noticed as a critique, kind of you guys had mentioned a little bit, but I felt like I got to know how the couple interacted. But in terms of a story, like for a wedding, it felt a little distant throughout the film. Like there was a lot of these like glamour shots. It felt like almost like, I don't know. And this could also just be personal preference, guys. But like, I felt like I wanted a little more connection, to not only to the couple, but to the day. And I felt like kind of distant.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm actually going to touch on that too. Are we moving on to me?
Yeah, go for it, Bob.
All right. So,
am I able to call you Bob or Robert?
You call me whatever you want.
Are you Robert? Are you a Robert?
I'm Robert Burns the Third.
Nice.
I don't think I have any friends that are named Bob, so maybe we could just start calling you Bob, Bobby.
Bob Burns.
Bob Burns. Bob Burns is my father.
We just wouldn't talk very much anymore. Yeah.
All right. So a really, really quick, easy one. Either ditch that font.
Oh yeah.
I knew that was a universal.
Yeah. That was one I was
not doing you any favors. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, we're getting right back on the train where we were 6 months, 8 months ago. If you want your font to look good, gotta make it super tiny, right? So no, if you want to have font, have font. I would choose a different one. I would make it smaller too, I think. Can
I just say one thing as a design too, Bobby, since you're doing that?
Yeah.
In general, and I'm not saying everyone has to do this, but I think with most logos in general, like unless you're very particular and you have a good designer who's actually making sure, if you're just taking font and writing your logo, the easy hack is just do all caps.
Yeah. And then
like
you make
every
it
font
1%
looks better.
Size. And like if they don't have to take their magnifying glass out to see it, you're
not high end.
So you're not high end.
No, but in general, I would agree with you, Bobby. The font, just that particular font, and like it just didn't do them any favors. They should get some branding.
It didn't match your level. Is what
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So
I would say also for someone who knows symmetry, obviously in his composition, like symmetry is like a main kind of point of his shots.
Yeah.
Like the fonts didn't feel symmetrical. Like it was a little bit all over the place. So maybe that's a main kind of like design point
for sure.
Making it smaller there. Yeah, making it all caps. Like it's just gonna feel more luxurious.
Sound off in the comments.
That's it.
Okay, so moving on from there, a couple things. So I'm gonna get to one bigger one, but kind of these quicker, like easily fixable ones are. There were a lot of jump cuts, and there was one or two that I think worked for me, but I didn't like it overall. I'm kind of a stickler on that. I always have been. The processional with every group coming down was like almost the exact same shot, but enough like change in between it that it just really threw me off. So I'd kind of tidy that up. You could put some shots in between those and still use them if you wanted, but just not right up next to each other. And then real quick one other thing is that I don't think your reception footage matched the quality of the rest of your stuff. I think bringing a light in would help that a lot. It wasn't bad footage or anything, but I think again, it's just like a very different from where the level of your other stuff is at. And then the big thing that I think is just more of a philosophical thing, and Jay was touching on this, kind of that distance thing. And I think the way that I wrote it down is that I can tell that you are a commercial filmmaker. I can tell that like this wedding feels like a commercial for a wedding almost. And you are, in my opinion, kind of missing that really personal touch. You have the vows, which work, and you have this couple that clearly loves each other, but a lot of what's in there is absolutely gorgeous. Like the footage, gorgeous. But it does feel distant. It feels very staged to me. And I think we as wedding filmmakers do need to stage some stuff, because we want to get those power shots like this, right? And nobody's like, no couple is going to be like, oh, like if you're like, hey, just do something cute, they're not going to be like, oh, let me put my hand here and we'll both look different sides. You know what I mean? So like absolutely get that stuff, but it needs to be mixed in with some like that's a good, I think like that what we're looking at right now, that's a good like emotional real shot, but I think there could have been more of that.
I felt like throughout the film, whenever he was functioning in the staged world, that's where he was shining, right?
Yeah.
And then once like there was having to like extract like event coverage, it was a little unnatural.
Exactly. It's like when you could set stuff up, and that's the thing is commercial stuff, right? You're used to being on set, so I totally understand that. But finding a way to get some of that more emotional.
I think some ambient audio throughout the film would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jared,
I think, and it kind of goes to my critique of the last film a little bit too. Like, and I think it's people's nature, especially when they are first kind of doing some wedding films, is to just use a lot of vows. And it kind of like starts like the first 5 seconds, it's like vows, and it goes to the very end of the film. So what you get is like 5 full minutes of like vows back and forth or speeches back and forth, and it's like nonstop talking, and there's almost like fatigue from just hearing people talk, and it doesn't allow you to really play with pacing. So
hearing the same
people can't go as high. Right. It's like it just becomes exhausting kind of hearing someone talk for 5 minutes at you. So I almost wish that, and this is I think what a good editor will do, and the people that are just like excellent, like masters, they'll just find what the best of the best is and really put an exclamation point on it, and then kind of create this vacuum of like nothingness, so they can hit you with some beats, hit you with some music, like give it some thump, and then they're using the audio to kind of complement the rest of the piece. So in terms of the edit, that's probably one of my critiques, and kind of what you're saying, Bobby. I think that's maybe for me what made it start to feel a little bit more distant, because it was just like I started kind of zoning out a little bit when it came to what the people were actually saying. I was like watching the shots, but in terms of like feeling that connection, I can agree with you there. So that was probably, as far as an editing critique, that's what I would say. Definitely during the reception, I would chime in too and say that's probably where I wish there was a little bit more handheld. That's like a style preference, probably. I just feel like when you're wanting to do kind of like a faster pace stuff, gimbal, when you're kind of like floating around a little bit, it doesn't kind of give it that same kind of momentum that a handheld shot would do. So
I can't believe I'm going to say this, Jared, but like,
buckle in, everybody.
I actually really missed not having more like from speeches from their friends and people. Like that.
Did we have any?
I don't think we had any.
That's 2 in a row.
And the other thing that we had 2 in a row, and maybe this is a time to just have a more philosophical discussion before we talk about our giveaway of Film Convert Nitrate.
Surprise giveaway. Wow.
Hey.
He already spoiled it. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, but I think both of these films would have been better with music that had that had lyrics. And I don't always know what draws that
I always
line
lean
for
that
me.
way. I agree with that. And you know why? I had this written down for both. Is there these moments where you're like the driving of the story was completely dependent on the audio that we had.
Yep.
And since it was the same, it was basically just vows. I think this one had a little bit of the pastor. But it was basically just vows driving it. And you don't have, 5 minutes of vows, right, that you're going to use or something. So there were these little down points. And this one, I think, did a better job with the pacing of the music pushing it. But lyrics with like a really good chorus, I don't know, hook.
It just
something,
needed
whatever,
it just needed
like
more,
could just like
more,
push it. Yeah. Could engage your brain a little bit more or something.
Yeah,
so.
I felt like a good song, connects you to the day and the couple, and it speaks for the day sometimes. And I'm not like, Jared, why do you think, like, where's that line, right? Because there's clearly some films where you're like, no lyrics.
Yeah.
And then there's some where you're like, no lyrics.
I think it definitely gives it more personality.
Important.
Like the song can definitely become a character of the film, right? Like you have your characters in a movie. Your characters in your wedding film, obviously bridegroom, your supporting cast is going to be like family, other people that are speaking on the microphone, best man, maid of honor, whoever. I think the song is almost a character too. Like, it's almost like a voice, especially when weddings might not have that pizzazz. Like, if you've been shooting weddings for any amount of time, you get your good ones and then you get your other ones, I will say. And so, I think giving the film a little bit more personality by adding some lyrics in there, but then also you have weddings where it's just like, you have these dramatic, like sweeping drone shots that you can get. And then you can kind of play with like the oohs and ahs instrumental type of music. And that works. But I would say most of our films probably include lyrics songs. If we use two different songs in a film, one of them will almost always be lyric. It's pretty rare that both are not lyrics. So I don't know. I would say at one point we probably used a majority of our films had lyrics in them, every single song. Because I think we had a certain kind of style, and that's another thing. So I think we're kind of walking a fine line between, like, I don't want to stomp on people's style and what they're going for, because some people do super dramatic films and it's just all instrumental strings and pianos and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful kind of wedding. So, I think it has to match the film.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's about, like, when you're mixing audio, right, in a recording studio, there's a certain bandwidth that you can actually carry within your audio. And I think the same thing is with any kind of content, right? Like, there's only so much content that you can jam into the film. And when it feels a little flat, I think it's usually saying, like, hey, I need some lyrics here. But we also know there are films where you're like, no, I'm going to do instrumental. This is what I'm going for. I have a lot of content, whether it be, voiceovers, a lot going on, and I don't need it. And I think that's like a feel thing, right? It can be really hard to just tell you, here's the rules. Because I've heard some people try to argue, like, if you're high end, you won't use any lyrics. And I kind of think, no, I don't agree. I don't think that's what high end filmmaking is. But you do tend to see it more in high end filmmaking with these luxury.
I think part of that too is high end filmmakers are using a lot more sound design. And if you use sound design, that can be one of those characters in your film. You don't necessarily need the lyrics to drive something, or you might not have the room for lyrics if you have this like epic whatever thing with all this sound design.
Yes, the visuals are so big that they're kind of demanding all the attention, and you don't need it. And like at these epic, huge luxury weddings, there are times where like we don't need it. But I think the average wedding film that we are going to be shooting, I kind of think most wedding films that most of us are shooting probably are fine with. It's not more high end to just only do instrumental. But anyway, Bobby, why don't you tell everybody about our giveaway?
Well, you already ruined it, so yes, it's
that guy
for Film Convert Nitrate. We partnered with them for this relaunch, and they are giving us a copy of their I guess what it's like it's a plugin, right? I think we all use it actually. So
Film emulation.
Yep, film emulation, some color grading. There are some built-in, stock. I guess you'd call them LUTs. I don't know if they're technically LUTs, but to emulate certain film stocks. And then film grain. Like I use that on every film.
So do you know how they make it, Bobby?
They actually scan actual film, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
all of them are scanned from real chroma and luma and grain structures from a whole bunch of classic Fuji and Kodak film stocks. It's pretty much the only game in town, in my opinion, when it comes to film emulation.
It's the best.
And they have plugins for Premiere, for Final Cut Pro, or for Resolve. So
So if you want to win that, same rules apply as our mug. So we'll be getting 2 winners from this stream. So just go over to our Instagram, which is the Wedding Film School Show, and you'll see our recent, what is it, a story, a reel?
It's a story, yeah.
A story from yesterday, which is just promoting this stream right now. All you got to do is share that. And Jay is holding it up. So just share that to your story for us, and you'll be entered to win Film Convert Nitrate, a completely free copy of that. And hold it up one more time, Jay, if you've got it next to you. Your very own Wedding Film. Nope, not your phone. Wedding Film School Show mug, which I don't even have one yet. So you will have one before I do.
Whenever I drink water out of this when I'm editing, it makes me twice as creative.
Exactly. The inside, you can't see it. The inside is actually lined with all of our tips. We're just like, don't like bad handheld shot and like match your cameras better.
It'll help you internalize our feedback.
Exactly.
The thing I like about these microphones, by the way, are they're kind of like the off print. So they're not Wedding School red, they're orange. So when you try to sell them 30 years from now, they'll actually be worth like 5 times as much. So instead of like $1, they'll be worth $5, right?
A little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, a little bit of we'll use a different printer next time, but these are kind of the special versions.
All right, so this is our final film of the day. You guys have fun today? I had fun.
It's been a good trip back,
I would say, Jay, it's good to see you're in a better mood than you were about an hour ago when you were screaming at the live stream rig because nothing was working after setting it all up all day yesterday, and all of a sudden
I literally set all this stuff up on this dock, guys, and then everything's set up, and then I get in here and I look and there's no lights on the dock when I walk in. And I'm like, that's not good. What's good? And then
we were talking about ways to like make, should we keep doing YouTube membership? How can we make it better for people? Maybe what we need to do is record our stream before we go live, and then just weekly you guys get to pop in if you're a member only on our YouTube channel, and then you get to see our like 30 minutes leading up to the live stream and the chaos.
Yes.
Every single week. Yes, the rage.
We could stream our BTS of a live stream.
Yeah, members only. It's just like a back camera that just shows us kicking things and yelling.
Yeah. Live streaming is a blast. Every time I do it, I just
nothing ever goes wrong.
Have you seen any one of those rooms that they have where you can just destroy stuff?
Oh yeah,
rage rooms.
Rage rooms, yeah. We should have built a rage room in the new office. That would have been key. Because we would definitely take our anger out on every live stream that we would do. So
yes. All right. So Bobby, why don't you pull up the stats of this next one? But he's a familiar.
All right, so our next one, a familiar face coming in, Max Smith.
Ayo.
With Kenneth Kevin Media. Ayo. We love Max's films. So I'm gonna read what he wrote here. All right, so shot on the A7S III. So this is were we all Sony? Yes, we were today. Sony takeover. Fun wedding party. Shot the interview story session a week before. So I'm actually really pumped for this. I really, really like. I saw a little bit of it while we were testing. No vows or letters. So I wanted to interview them to have a narrative. Very smart choice. I added that last part of very smart choice. He's not tooting.
Yeah, he just wrote, I am smart.
Yeah, very good. A couple had their first dance to a jumpsuit apparatus song. That's awesome. They had a very alt rock vibe to them, so I wanted a song that matched that vibe. So the final climax song in this isn't my normal choice, but it ended up fitting, and they were fitting who they were so well. And they purchased the middle package for him, which is full day coverage with a story session, which is a separate day of filming, a ceremony edit, and a teaser. Let's do it.
Is that boutonniere supposed to go sideways like that, you think?
Probably not.
I don't know. Probably
It's
not.
cool looking.
I don't know. I would. So the thing I wanted, I wanted to play this film because I always like to put on something that will inspire everyone. And Max, two things about Max. Three things. First thing, he's excellent at floating down a river. Because Vision Quest last year, he was my tube mate. We're floating down the river. And second thing is he's been submitting for around a year, a little over a year, and I've gotten to see just so much, just massive improvement. I think he's only been making films for like 4 years max, and just the improvement. It's crazy. And then I also wanted to point it out because he's doing something. He's taking like a situation, like he had already said in the description, like, well, because of this and this, I wanted to do this. And I think like that's when you're in the next level, I think, as a wedding filmmaker, is when like the day is like a given. I'm going to show up, I'm going to nail it, to do this and this and this. And you're trying to figure out how to elevate. So I wanted to show a film where I think I'll spoiler alert, I think it was successful, where someone did something a little different, and yet it still feels very cohesive and like a traditional wedding film in all the ways that I think count. So without further ado, guys, here is the film by Kenneth Kevin Media. Max, I'll post a link to his website, guys, in the chat so you guys can see it, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the film.
Smith.
One of my favorite memories with Brett is our first planned vacation together.
We hike so much. We love the outdoors. So really probably our first trip to the Upper Peninsula.
We were doing a whole camping trip up in the UP. And we were driving up, got lost. We got stranded, like stuck and stranded down a seasonal road in the middle of nowhere. And it took 3 hours for a tow truck to find us. So we just adventured and we found like a patch of wild blueberries that we picked, and we busted into the beer cooler and had some brewskis.
We went kayaking on pictured rocks. We did a lot of hiking, and it was that first trip we took together. So it was incredible.
And that basically like determined if we were gonna stay together or not. That was like one of my favorite memories ever.
So the first thing I noticed about Veronica was, her looks, her beauty, obviously, because it's the first thing I see. But as I got to know her more and more, it was her heart, her kindness. And that's really what had always stuck with me.
What I love most about Brett, he's the most selfless, caring, loving person I've ever met in my entire life. And every day waking up, he always says, "Good morning, I love you." At night, he's always like, "Good night, I love you." Every day, never misses.
I feel Veronica makes me better in a lot of different ways. One, I always think on emotion. I never have a second to really collect myself and think about things. And she's always there, to be there, to be my support. So, she makes me better because she makes me want to be better, with everything. I've become so much closer to my family since I
heard Max shut down the whole city for those shots.
Since I've
really stupid jerseys, though. Hate their jerseys.
Special. Because we fell apart a little bit. So that was, that's been amazing. Being back as close as I am with my mom, my dad, again.
If
I can say anything about Veronica, it's that to know her is to love her. And I don't need to explain that to anyone in this room, because you all know her. And she's the most lovable and loyal person. So Veronica and Brett, I think when it comes to giving Brett you rules to like be married to my best friend for the rest of your life, or like advice, I got nothing. I see you. Like, I think you're incredible. You both are extremely capable of having a beautiful life together.
The tackle.
Brett, I trust you with my best friend. She's the love of my life, and I know you'll take care of her, and you're gonna have a beautiful life together. It is a rare occasion that you will have so many people representing so many seasons of your life in the same room at the same time sharing a meal. It's extremely special. So let's celebrate tonight, and let's not waste this moment. It's beautiful. Your love is beautiful. We all see it, and we're ready to party.
Weird compression. Apologize.
He actually turned down the audio at this point really low.
No, he didn't do that, guys. It's just how it works. But I think this was a great time to bring the audio in, like the vocals.
Yep.
Feels great.
That's why we like lyrical songs sometimes.
Well, that's what it is. It's like he waited till the right time and then brought in the lyrics.
It adds interest, yeah.
Wow, there's so much good shooting in this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The symmetry too between the different sessions is really nice.
Yeah.
Random black and white.
He went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then made it black and white, and then again. That's how it worked.
The capital fonts at the end.
Capital fonts.
That's it.
So I think you should submit that to WPPI, by the way. That's a really good film.
Really good film, Max.
Really good film.
So why don't we, Bobby, why don't you start with what you loved about the film?
Okay, so let's see. I marked these all the wrong way. Okay, I loved, first and foremost, I love the way that you combined these, like, I know you had, I forget what you called it, but a separate day of filming, a story session. So you had this stuff in their house, you had the stuff in what I'm assuming is like downtown Detroit. You had the stuff out in their backyard, I think, with the dogs and snow, and then you had the wedding day, obviously. You also had this stuff too about their trip, and that was kind of its own sequence, but kind of ignoring that side of it for a minute. I loved the way you jumped between all of those times so frequently, but so well. It didn't feel I think it would be really easy to do that wrong and be like, okay, I could definitely see myself or one of us saying, okay, it's kind of confusing because we're in their house and then we're at the reception. And then it's then we're in this backyard and they're throwing snow at each other. And then it's the morning when they're getting ready. Where are we? But I didn't ever lose that sense of where I was in the film. It just felt right. And I think that's hard to do. I also really and I think this plays a role in it, is, I've always liked this, and I've probably said this before, but it's been many months, so I'll tell you again, and I don't remember that I've ever said it, is that I love the way you use handheld. You're raw, you have this intermixed, non-handheld or maybe very slowed down, so it looks like a gimbal and really stable, but you have this raw
awesome
movement.
looking.
Yeah, you have this raw movement in your shots that is the epitome of what you want in a handheld shot. For me, at least, where it's just like, man, you're just nailing it with that. And I think that plays a role in being able to combine those different scenes together so well, because it's just this like raw emotional tie across all parts of the, you know, across the Detroit, across the backyard, across the in the house and the reception. Those are the two big things that I really, really like. And I did also personally really like the black and white and the like double exposure stuff. I think I always really like that stuff, and you executed it very well.
I'm gonna go last, Jared. So why don't you go next?
Sure. Yeah, I would just say right off the bat, the intentionality of his storytelling was excellent. Like, the thing he does really well is he has this like common thread of like the home session, right? Where it's like he has them talking, going back and forth. They're actually telling a story. So like that's a cool storytelling element. And as a creator, you have to be like, hey, what do you guys think about doing something like this? And then being the kind of person that this couple could trust to be like, hey, come to our house, and that's where we want to tell this story. You have to, this is all stuff that doesn't just happen. You have to have like forethought to actually put that stuff together. And then kind of being like, hey, what if, do you have, like you talked about this story, do you guys have assets from that story? Do you have like, you know, this is all things that he didn't just think about from the very beginning. It's like, as they're telling the story, he's like, okay, this is the next, you know, aspect of this. Maybe we do this. So I think it's a shout out to just Max as a dude making himself be that comfortable. Like, it takes a lot to get a shot like that, where like the bride is in her couch cuddling and then just looking up at you like that. Like, that takes a lot of trust. So just
Max
a shout out
Smith
to how cool
with
Max
the
is.
Max intentionality.
I would say the extra portrait sessions too. Were just like so thoughtful. Like, even just going to the backyard and like fooling around, it shows off so much of their personality. Going to like a Red Wings game or whatever, like doing a lot of things outside of the actual wedding day was very good. I love the black and white stuff. Like, that was very intentional. It wasn't like beating you over the head. I think you used certain shots that are just cater themselves really well to black and white. And I didn't think it was overused. I didn't think it was tacky. I thought it was very intentional. That overlay was very cool. Wasn't overused. Very intentional. So the whole film, I would just say, was intentional, and I appreciate it. And it looks banging. Handheld, like Bobby said, Max is like a master at handheld. Like, actually,
Max,
he breaks our main rule, Bobby.
Tip. Yeah,
he breaks that rule about walking with the handheld, right?
He's the only one. He gets a pass on that from us. But Max, I'd be very curious to know, like, what do you attribute that great handheld to? Like, if you just have like the steadiest arms, or like, what's your setup? Like, what are you doing to get that? Because I'm sure people would love to know. And by people, I mean me. So, you know.
I think it really comes down to, and I was going to say, what I love about this film is something that is, I think, central to what it means to be a wedding filmmaker, which is like, can you create a legacy piece that when you show people for generations, everyone will go like, this is who my dad or grandparents were.
Yeah.
And I think the piece, when I watched this film, first of all, it wasn't boring. It like kept moving. And so and it was not in an artificial way where it's just like the music is pumping or there's a lot of cuts, but really there's nothing happening. Like, it was moving and there was a lot going on, and it was actually kind of complicated. And I remember when I like read what he did and then I watched the film, I'm like, man, these could be like really tedious, like 8 minutes long. I don't care that much. No, this thing kept moving. But at the same time, it showed so much of this couple. Like literally, like, he's crying about his parents' relationship. You know that they like hockey. They're kind of silly. They're outdoorsy, but then they kind of have that sexy, edgy vibe. Like, there was so much going on with them. You could see their relationships through that really deep speech by I'm assuming, a maid of honor. Just so many hard things that really take giving a crap. Like really caring about your couples and really caring about their story and caring about their kids' watching the film, or whoever, if they choose not to have kids, just anyone down the generations watching it. And I feel like that's so hard to do. And I don't want to say that like, oh, you have to do all these sessions outside of a wedding day to get that. You, of course, you can capture it just by showing up on a wedding day, but I certainly think it helped. And I really, really, really wanted to just kind of drive forward. And of course, the cinematography is great. And we had already mentioned while we were watching the film, when he chose to drop that lyric, it was just such a well-timed escalation of the drama. And so I love that too. What are some areas we think it could be improved? I mean,
so that was the stream today, guys. Thanks for I mean, look, we aren't gonna have a whole lot to say. I think it's gonna be nitpicky, and it's gonna be things that are probably personal preference. I do have a question about the interviews that you shot with them. I'd love to know. So right here, there's a chain. Well, it wasn't. I think we skipped over it. There is at one point where you kind of break that 180-degree rule, right? Where he's looking left, and then you cut to a shot of him looking right. Or actually, I think it's vice versa. But I'd love to know.
I don't feel like he connected them together, though. I feel like they were always spaced apart.
They were always spaced, except for one. There was one point where they were back to back, I think. But I would love to know just kind of your thoughts on like the framing of those interviews, the two main shots, this one and the other one, because they're very low in frame. And I would assume that was intentional by you. And so I'm just curious, like there's a lot of headspace, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I wasn't pulled out or anything, but I think that would be something where I'd just be curious to know. And I could have seen that being different. And then the only thing that kind of bugged me is your, wait, I think it's right here. Facing right and then facing left. Yeah. So that's the only time where you got that.
We gotcha.
Yeah, it's a nice try, dude.
That's my critique too.
Film? Yeah, we all don't like that.
Me too.
You suck.
The only other thing that
wait. Did you see that? There's a smoke alarm. I saw a smoke alarm.
Oh, an exit sign and a smoke alarm or something. Get him out of here. Cancel this guy. The only other thing, so when you were going through the like photos and kind of video that you collected from the like story they were telling and the 8mm look, I didn't love the 8. I mean, this is so small, guys. The sound that you used for the 8mm changing of the frames, it just like
it's kind of like slideshow
so many times. Yeah. And like I actually don't mind it at all. I just think like whatever specific one you picked was like just weird to me. I don't know. So literally smallest things I could ever think of. But yeah,
it's funny, Bobby, because I heard that and I was like, I kind of like that noise. It's not as like clicky as some others that I've heard. And like
I liked one of the others. He did one like halfway through that was more like a longer one. Like it was like it was too quick for me, I think is what it was. He had two different ones and one was too quick for me.
Cool.
That's all I got.
So I don't really have a lot to add to that, but what I would ask you guys is like, can you see this type of storytelling working in like the luxury market, the ultra luxury market? Like obviously this is like a really nice wedding, cool vibes, like cool couple, like great storytelling. Could you see this working for $1 million wedding, $500,000 wedding, this kind of storytelling in general?
I think yes, but it's so specific. It's not something where you could like.
That was going to be my feedback. Let me say this.
You do it.
Because this will be my feedback, my negative feedback, which is not really negative feedback, but it's just something to consider. Is this something you could do from a storytelling approach with other couples, or does it limit who you can work with? And I think that's the thing to consider. And like, I think if this is because this is, I think, where Max is in his brand is like getting the ideal client, working with people who want to do what he wants to do and what they want to do. And, I watched this and I'm like, honestly, what I kept thinking, Jared, is none of our couples would work with us like this.
Yeah.
you know, and like if you become too dependent on all this extra stuff, you end up becoming too picky with your clients, and then you end up being poor. So so I don't think that that's what Max is going to do.
I do think it's easier when you have a film like this where
Mhm.
Max is like can just show another couple and be like, this is some work that I did. You are going to start attracting those kind of
Mhm.
people naturally.
Yep.
So I think it's a little less work of like preparing them for like, this is what it's going to be. This is what you can expect. I'm going to be in your house. I'm going to be super close. We're going to feel like we're cuddling.
Well, and not every film that he has is like this either. So
Right.
having that variety is good because you
Yep.
can say like, hey, if you guys are interested, my top collection, which by the way, this should be your top collection if you're doing like extra days and all that
Hell
stuff too.
yeah.
Like this should cost a lot of money. My top collection, like I'm gonna come hang out with you guys for a day, just get to know you better and integrate that into the story. Like you know, then you have the option when you know a planner comes at you and says, hey, I have a couple, it's $1 million wedding, and you know, we all know the way that's going to go, which means you're probably not going to meet them before the day, and like all
Right.
this stuff where you can't get so personal, but you still have other films where you can still deliver what your quality is like without this like raw emotional
Totally.
side.
I was going to say too, this is just more of a theoretical discussion about wedding filmmaking and how to use like found footage or couples footage kind of thing. And, you know, I know Super 8 is kind of what a lot of us do. That's fine. I am not a person who's always trying to kick conventions just because other people do them. But I do wonder when you're like playing back like digital media like this, if the Super 8 thing is necessary. Or if it would
like
read
it
better.
sometimes.
I don't mind it.
It wasn't overused. Like again, I think
Yeah.
it was very intentional. Like
But-
sometimes you can be like, oh, I feel like I'm just being beat over the head.
Well,
by this,
no,
like-
but that's not what I'm saying though. I'm saying like this isn't Super 8. It's a phone
Oh,
footage.
gotcha.
And I wonder if
Yeah, but
like,
it might be shitty phone footage.
Who knows?
And some of
like
it's photos.
I don't really know. I'm just wondering if there's another way to show phone footage besides just doing the Super 8 thing. If you can more lean into the fact that it was a phone and that it was like that. And that's not really a critique. It's just a question.
A
when you're
theoretical
considering-
filmmaking. Which, you know, if you were to go to one spot maybe for these deeper theoretical, more philosophical, like filmmaking, wedding business type things, do you guys have any ideas where somebody could... Oh my gosh, whoa. No way. It's so funny that was just there, ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as if
a great place for that. We can go way deeper at the Wedding Film School show.
Last episode, actually, we talked about conflict resolution. And I felt like
these cute guys.
It was like our
Wow, what an attractive
definitely something, you know, that a lot of people need to hear. How do we deal with all the conflict that can come? But also, we'd love it if you guys could go subscribe to our alternate YouTube channel. That'd mean a lot to us.
Yep, Wedding Film School show. That is where our podcast now lives, as well as Spotify.
I was going to say, Courtney is also a great shooter, apparently. Courtney did a lot of that handheld work. So Max, being a good husband, gave his wife props.
Perfect.
So,
we
love that.
We love
Send your
her
work to us
handheld
again, Max.
filming. Yes, please.
So why don't we just close up, guys? Let's see who submitted. And so we'll announce some winners. How about that? I'm going to give you guys one more minute to
share our story. Go to Instagram, search for our Instagram. And there's a lot of Wedding Film School ones because we had some issues getting our past ones and it was a whole thing. But the one you want is the Wedding Film School show. That's our Instagram account. And you are going to go to that and just share our story from yesterday or earlier today or whenever it was. And you will be entered to win one of two prizes. We have a Wedding Film School mug. Very cool. Very trendy. And we have a free copy for you of Film Convert Nitrate, which is a film emulation tool plugin that we use. A lot of people use it. Top notch in the industry for film emulation. They have some film stocks that you can use as kind of like a LUT. They have grain that you can overlay, which is the best, really the best grain available on the market, in our opinion. And so great plugin for Final Cut, Premiere, and DaVinci Resolve. So one of those two prizes could be yours if you go to our Instagram, the Wedding Film School Show, and share our story real quick. We'll be choosing somebody here in just a minute.
Bobby, you're really good at like tap dancing, Bobby. You're like skilled at that or something.
That's what I do.
No
It's,
biggie. When guys, when are we
the
back
camera
at
loves
this?
me.
When are we back on WFS Live? How often are we doing this? And
Every
when
week.
should people expect?
We're back here every
Boom.
week at our new time, which we're testing out now, and I think it seems to work pretty well. I think our top end was like 35 viewers or so, which is pretty standard for us, and a lot of. We just figure, we're all sitting in our editing caves, and it could be a good time. Can you just buy a mug? I don't know, Jason.
Not right now. We are gonna. We did actually insert a e-com platform on our website, but I'm gonna finish moving into my studio before I worry about shipping people mugs.
We're moved into the studio insofar as we can do this right now.
I'll show off this. I'll show off my room one more time, guys. Here,
yeah.
This is gonna be this. I even have an Addison bulb to show you that I'm an artist.
Oh shoot! I need one of those. I'm not an artist.
No, nobody's confusing you for an artist, Bobby.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So anyway, so we got one winner, and then I'm going to be announcing the other winner. We'll just message you on Instagram. But I want to announce our winner of the Film Convert Nitrate. So the winner of, I like this one. I just scrolled around and it was just random. Doc Films, that would be awesome, except for Doc says the next film review session would be dope if you can incorporate the person who made the edit in the interview. I have thought about that, but then I said that will make me want to kill myself because just the logistics of it are relatively challenging. Trying to get someone
I think that a lot of people don't understand. So Jay and Jared are on the East Coast. I'm in Minneapolis, so I'm central of the country, whatever. And the amount of effort it takes to get this stream to flow somewhat seamlessly with us three, and they're not in the same room, by the way. So that, and your films pulling off of YouTube and our graphics and stuff like that. Like, boy, oh boy.
I was gonna say, I think Max was a little bit. Max was a little bit advantaged because for some reason Restream played his film perfectly and beautifully, and it was nice and tight in terms of its resolution. So maybe it's just because we were going for a while.
And the best way right now, DCO Films or Doc Films or whatever it was, is like a lot of times. In fact, today we had 2 of our submissions were in chat, and so we can always ask questions and they can answer in chat, and that's just kind of the way it is for now.
Yeah. That being said, the winner of our copy of Film Convert Nitrate is Benjamin Kelly.
Hey, a winner.
So we will be I'll be emailing you. I messaged you in Instagram. I'll go ahead and just send me your email address and we'll get you hooked up. I believe you're going to get the copy that can be used in all 3 editing platforms, which is great. He finally won something in his life, he says. And then I will be, we'll give you guys a chance. So this contest will go to the end of the day. I know it's not crazy, but it helps our channel a lot if you can just share our Instagram, because people, we have a lot of Instagrams and that's bad. And so the more people that can get on our actual Instagram, that would be awesome. So it helps us out a ton. It gets the word out. And if you like the content, subscribe, go ahead and like the live stream. It means a lot to us. And we really believe wedding filmmaking, we're a very small community. And what we want to do is elevate this community. We want everyone to get better. We want everyone to have a lot more fun and ultimately just get connected to making more money, making better films, all that stuff.
And connected as a community. It's a lonely career path, or it can be. And we all know that, so we want all of us to just be in a space weekly where we can chat and look at cool films.
Yep. All right, guys, stay tuned to the channel. If you are not a subscriber, please do that. It means a lot. Like we always say, smash the like button. And the other thing about it is, I think we invented that actually.
We
coined that for
we're the OGs.
And they were like, we need something that everybody will say. And we came up with that.
Well, clearly us. Who else but
Yeah.
us? And then I would say, Jeff, the podcast, which is mostly audio, go check it out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. And of course, we have our Facebook group, which is 14,000-ish people strong. If you want to get connected,
17,000.
17. If you want to get connected to Wedding Filmmakers, it's one of the largest groups and very active, and it's a lot of fun. Hopefully, you guys had a lot of fun at the Wedding Film School show. Live, WFS Live, and we will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if all of us will be here. It might just be Bobby and I, but maybe Jared, and we'll see how it goes. But we're looking forward to seeing you guys next week here on Wedding Film School. Have a good day, guys.